All right. Every once in a while, you come across a professional profile that just tells a story of massive impact, of real-world scale. Well, today, we're digging into one of those. We're talking about software engineer Eugene Ryabtsev.
So, let's just start with a number, a big one. 1 million plus. Kind of makes you wonder, right? What in the world is that about?
That number? That's concurrent users. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. For more than 10 years, that's been the day-to-day reality of the systems Eugene has been building. This isn't some theoretical what-if scenario. We're talking about a high-stakes, super high-load environment where if things go down, well, they just can't. Performance and reliability are absolutely everything.
So you have to ask, how do you even begin to build for that kind of pressure? Well, looking at his profile, it really boils down to 3 key pillars. Let's start with the first one, architecting for scale. This is the bedrock, the foundation. It's all about building systems that don't just, work. They have to thrive under that crazy, constant load.
And look, this kind of expertise, it doesn't just happen overnight. You can see right here, his time at Wargaming, we're talking more than a decade of deep, focused work inside one single super demanding company. That kind of long-haul commitment, that's where true mastery is forged. No question about it.
Okay, so let's peek under the hood at the toolkit he's using. And this isn't just a random list of buzzwords to pad a resume, This is literally the anatomy of a modern, seriously scalable backend. You've got Python with Django, specifically the REST framework for those APIs, and then async I/O for the heavy lifting, high-performance stuff in the background. It's all built on a solid foundation, things like Postgres and RabbitMQ, and then, of course, everything's orchestrated with Docker and Kubernetes, the whole shebang. But he didn't just jump straight into gaming. You can actually see this really cool progression in his career. He started out customizing content management systems, building e-commerce sites, and then he moved into engineering these unbelievably complex, high-load systems. It's so clear that the scale and honestly the stakes just got bigger and bigger over time.
But here's the thing. Great engineering isn't just about the tech stack, right? It's about solving actual problems. And that brings us to our second pillar, solving critical business problems. This is where we stop looking at what he built and start asking why it mattered so much to the business.
And here is a fantastic example. His work on GDPR compliance. That big EU data privacy law. This wasn't just like adding a new feature. No way. This was a super complex, platform-wide service. Its whole job was to coordinate how data was handled across a ton of different systems to solve a huge, and I mean huge, business and legal headache. So why was this such a big deal? The profile puts it perfectly with this quote. His work unlocks legally restricted markets and increases company revenue. I mean, boom, right there. That's the difference. That's what separates just writing code from engineering solutions that actually drive real, measurable business value. Okay, so building solid systems for today, that's impressive enough. But what about building for tomorrow? This is where things get really interesting. It's where we see the third pillar of his profile pop up, innovating with AI. This shows a totally forward-thinking mindset with skills that go way beyond your standard back-end engineering.
He actually built an AI-powered test generator. And the impact? It was instant. We're talking about real, tangible wins here. Things like reduced development time, fewer bugs, and even getting into live documentation and RAG for LLMs. That's retrieval augmented generation. Come on, these aren't just small improvements. This stuff fundamentally changes and improves the entire development process from the ground up.
So how does this magic work? Well, it's pretty clever. First, the system basically vacuums up workflow information from all the different microservices. Then it uses that to build a kind of knowledge base of the entire architecture. And once it has that, bam, it instantly generates end-to-end tests. And this loops right back to that first pillar we talked about. You can only build a tool this smart if you have a decade of deep in-the-trenches knowledge of how a massive system really works. And that last step, enabling RAG, that is so forward-thinking. It's about making a system that can basically explain itself to help speed up all future work.
And just to be clear, this isn't just some high-level idea he had. Here's the actual tech stack he used to build it. We're talking TensorFlow and Keras for the ML models, Python and AIO HTTP for the backend, and he even built out a front-end component with JavaScript and Vue.js. This shows he's not just thinking about AI, he has the hands-on, practical skills to build and ship real AI solutions.
All right, so we've covered engineering for massive scale, we've seen how that solves critical business problems, and we've looked at his innovation with AI. Let's pull this all together now and look at the complete picture, the big takeaway.
So really, this is the whole story in a nutshell. First, you've got the architect of scale, that 10+ years of hard-won experience with 1 million concurrent users. Then, there's the business-minded problem solver, the person who delivers solutions that actually make the company money and keep it safe. And finally, the AI-driven innovator, the one who's building the tools that will define tomorrow. You put those 3 pillars together, and what you get is the profile of a truly elite engineer.
Oh, and one last thing. This is a really important detail for any teams watching this from a European company. He's an EU resident, so he's eligible to work anywhere across the Union, and he's ready to relocate for the right role. Just saying.
So I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. When you come across an engineer who can not only build the rock-solid, massive-scale systems you need today, but is also actively building the innovative tools you're going to need tomorrow, what do you do with that? How do you bring that kind of potential into your own team and let it completely transform your projects?